Hey everyone, this is Jon McNaughton. Welcome to my studio. This is the Patriot Art Show, and I'm your host. I'm with my good friend Seth Adam Smith, and
Howdy.
Seth is our producer once a week right now. It goes for anywhere from a half hour to an hour, and I like to talk about what's going on in the world, about my artwork, different things that I'm doing, and just have fun with this. Not get too tight. So, I've been here working on new paintings and just having fun. So, let me tell you some of the things I've been working on lately. You know, Social media drives me crazy. I would prefer to just sit in my studio and just paint and not worry about anything like that. But I found that it's a great way to reach new people and show my artwork. And for me, my art is all about communication and getting the word out. So I've, out of necessity, had to spend a lot of time on that. So I have a lot of different accounts. Most of them are just kind of in the infancy, but I've got a Facebook, I've got a Twitter, and I've got an Instagram. My Twitter was wiped away by those guys about the time of January 6th and a little bit after that, just like they took out President Trump and a lot of conservatives, and mine just disappeared. So there goes my 60,000 people on there just gone.
Yeah, and you used to be able to just communicate with people and like wildfire, your messages and your paintings would be
Yeah,
out there.
Twitter was kind of unique because if I was to release a painting on Twitter, immediately it would get out to all the people that needed to see it. Because there were trolls. I mean, that place was troll heaven. And so, in my business, if people don't like you, it actually is good because they show it to everybody and then it just explodes. So, I liked Twitter for that reason. But it's gone, and that's okay. Facebook, I've got a real loyal following there that I talk to and I give them information, but I get throttled by Facebook like crazy. I can't
Yeah.
do ads. I can't build it. It just sits there. And so I'll show new pictures there and sometimes it'll go viral, but I'll keep my Facebook. The thing that's driven me crazy for the last 2 years is Instagram. I have an Instagram account and it had been sitting at about the same amount of followers for like the last 2 years. I couldn't figure out what to do to get that going. But in the last week and a half, I finally figured out what it is that makes Instagram work, at least for me. And that is doing these things called reels, where it's a 15-second video. And so I've started posting some really fun reels of my paintings with music and kind of experimenting with that. And holy mackerel, my Instagram has finally taken off, at least for me. And so it's at around 35,000 followers right now, but a lot of that has just been in the last week, which is pretty crazy. And so I'm putting out some really fun content. You need to go to my Instagram.
Yeah, fun's an understatement, for sure.
Yeah, Seth was looking at this, and Seth, you were like, I don't get it. And I'm like, you're not supposed to get it.
Yeah, some of the music choices are just these are all straight from John, the mind of John, these
Right,
reels.
right. So a lot of my paintings, they're kind of outrageous when you first look at them, but then they have these real serious undertones. And that's what's going on. So if you want to have some fun, go to my Instagram.
Well, tell them some of the more successful one. Well, how much did that get
Oh,
in a
well,
week?
I've got one that's had about 600,000 views in the last week. And it's from my new painting, The Emperor Has No Clothes.
Yeah.
And so some of you have heard me talk about that one, but I put just the right music with just the right emphasis, and that picture really hits the nail on the head. So that's a good one. And there's a couple others. There's a really good Obama one that's gone viral. You'll see
Yeah.
that one. Just fun. Just check it out. It'd be great to have you join me on Instagram and Facebook and those places. But I'm glad you're on YouTube. I don't do anything anywhere else like I do here on YouTube. This is probably the most personal that I get, where I talk about my paintings and the detail, and I answer questions. I'm open to you leaving a comment here, and when we're doing it live, I'll actually answer some of your questions live. So
Yep.
feel free to throw that on there while we're doing the show, and we can answer some of those questions. So the other thing I want to do today, there's a few little things. Let me clean my glasses a little. One is I'm going to talk a little bit about the new NFT collection, the Biden NFT collection. We don't have a name for it yet, but that is going to blow your minds, and I'm going to show you a few of those later in our show tonight.
Yeah, I've already seen them. I mean,
it's crazy.
It characterizes Biden's administration very well.
Yes, it does. It's interesting.
Oh, look at this.
We're going to talk about that.
Look at this. Look at this. Greetings from
Iran.
Yeah, Iran. Would you say your Instagram? What's your Instagram account?
Look up Jon McNaughton. Isn't it stupid? I don't even know what it is. I think it's McNaughton Art.
Yeah,
or is it Jon McNaughton Art? It might be Jon McNaughton Art. You'll find it.
You've had to do a lot of different accounts because one of them got hacked, and then some of them been throttled.
Yeah, I think it's Jon McNaughton Art. But anyway, thank you. Okay, so I want to go back memory lane and talk about a painting I did. I think it was about 8 or 10 years ago, called there it is. Yeah, Jon McNaughton .art. Okay, yep. Thank you. You'd think I would know that. Maybe that's why my Instagram has been sitting flat for the last 2 years, because I haven't really, I just didn't know what I was doing on Instagram. I'm not a technical person, okay? I paint with brushes and paint the old-fashioned way. I don't mess around with computer stuff. That's why I need people like Seth helping me. All right, so anyway, going down memory lane, I did this painting called Liberalism Is A Disease. And that's this painting right here. This painting was, it was just the concept of having all these crazy liberals. What would happen if we put them on a deserted island and we quarantined them?
What year was this?
It was about 10 years ago, so probably around 2012, something like that. I never sold prints of it because there's too many people in here that have copyright restrictions because their faces are owned by networks and things like that. And so, it's not like I made any money on this, but I just had a lot of fun doing it. Just the concept of putting them all on a deserted island. And I gave them all these squatty bodies, like they're sinking into the sand, which was a lot of fun. I mean, this is a kind of painting where I just did it for the pure fun of it. It's not extremely serious, but like I've said before, outrageous paintings with serious undertones. So that's what's going on here. And liberalism in the classic sense is that's what the founders were. They were liberals in the classic sense, that they were rebelling against an establishment that was oppressive. However, liberalism today, just like a lot of words that have been co-opted by liberals, is used to describe somebody who's a statist, a leftist, a progressive, conservative, anti-American, anti-Constitution, all this stuff that is the antithesis of what it means to be a true American, in my opinion.
Yeah, more government control.
Government control, that's what it's all about. The bigger, the better. The government has all the answers. And at the time when I painted this, these people were some of the big pushers of that kind of mentality. And so, I didn't hold back. I just put them in. And I had already done a lot of paintings with politicians, so I didn't include as many politicians in this picture as I had in the past. A lot of people that saw this when I first painted it said, "Oh, you should have put oh, you should have added Hillary, or you should have added, and they gave me all these names. Well, they have their own special paintings. Okay. Oh man. Thanks, Jake. Thank you. My name's spelled Jon, but that's good enough. Couldn't put it any other way. All right, so let's take a closer look at this picture, and I'll talk about it a little bit. Okay, so we zoom in, and you can see I really tried to capture their likenesses, which was fun. Some of them are a little bit of a caricature, but that's okay. Let's zoom in a little bit closer on Nancy. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. She's like leaping out at you, kind of. She's kind of scary to some people, at least to me. So I thought it'd be fun to have her kind of.
Where did you get that? That pose that she's doing. Remember, did you see the State of the Union where she rubbed her hands together?
Where she went.
No, just recently with Biden, where she was rubbing her hands. Yeah. And I've heard someone say, describe it as, what was with the State of the Union where Nancy Pelosi got up and actually rubbed her claws together like a praying mantis. Yeah. It's just crazy. It's crazy really that she's still around.
And then Harry Reid is behind her, and he was the kind of the head honcho at the time. He's passed away since, but that guy used to drive me insane. Yeah. He was such a lion sack. I have to say it. It's not nice to speak of the dead that way, but that guy, I mean, he even admitted to lying about Romney, his tax returns, just so that they could put dirt on him.
Yeah.
And, we're not too happy with Romney these days, but, at the time he was running against Obama, so he was everybody's hero. So I don't know what to think of it all. Drives me crazy. Okay. Thanks for all you do, John. Oh, thank you. Let's see. So then just to the right of Nancy is, what's that dude's name? Stephen Colbert. You see him pointing up? Stephen Colbert. Now, he even painted his weird crooked ear. If you've ever noticed he has a crooked ear, it's just stupid, but that's true. And at the time, he had this show on Comedy Central. This was before he took over for David Letterman. And he actually did a whole 6-minute lampoon of my paintings. He took six or 7 minutes just to have fun heckling my artwork,
Really?
And I remember watching it thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy. I can't believe he's
8 minutes?
Yeah, no, not that much, like 6 or 7 minutes.
Geez, that is a long time.
It's a long time. And so I'm sitting there watching it, and at first I was like, oh boy, here it comes. And I ended up laughing pretty hard at a few parts. They were just funny, honestly. But he made fun of my painting with Obama burning the Constitution, and the one where Obama's stepping on the Constitution. And he insinuated that the paintings were very shallow, that there was no thought put into them, and he was making jokes out of it. And I remember thinking, he doesn't even have a clue. The painting with Obama burning the Constitution represents the Constitution. The bottom of it is the shape of the southern border, and you can see the flames coming up and the embers falling.
Wow.
The painting represented what was happening with the Fast and Furious scandal, and the problem with immigration at the southern border. I mean, the level of that painting was like 3 layers deep, and he was making fun of it as if all it is a picture of Obama burning the Constitution. Yeah, that's really good, And so I was just fascinated to watch how somebody who is totally infected with the disease of liberalism was trying to critique my paintings.
Well, it's interesting because back then, I mean, yeah, he's always been partisan, but back then he was funny. He could make fun of anybody, and you'd still think it was funny. It was good, but when Trump came in, it was like his brain just blew a circuit, and he couldn't get out of it.
You got to be able to laugh at yourself. I mean, I was laughing as he was making fun of me, but when you know that they have an agenda and that they're actually picking and choosing, who they're going to make fun of or who they're going to protect, it kind of loses its humor. So then you look around, you got Katie Couric.
Wait! Before you go on,
What?
I remember you telling me about this. You said Colbert did that spot on you for 8 minutes or 6 minutes or something, and you were worried about what it would be, and you ended up laughing. But you said other artists were trying to call him up and be like, "Why aren't you highlighting?"
There were
me?"
artists. There were leftist artists that were upset that they didn't get that kind of airtime, and they were writing him letters and doing YouTube videos about it, and they were all jealous that he actually spent that much time promoting me in a way. I'm sure he didn't think of it as promotion, but you know, it was it is what it is. It was funny.
It's good.
Okay. Okay. There's so many people here. Katie Couric, Matt Lauer. You know, that guy turned out in the last 10 years to, well, not soon after I painted this picture, you know, turned out he was kind of messing around doing inappropriate stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. You've got on the other side.
Here, I'll move in. We got to do the details here. Right here.
Oh, okay. So we'll go out down the left corner. Notice there's that sign on the stuck in the sand that says gun-free zone, and it's got blood splatter and bullet holes on it. You know, I just thought it's outrageous, these liberal policies of gun control and gun-free zones like in Chicago and, you know, other cities, and they have the highest crime rates in the country. You know, so that's just sort of the irony of how liberalism truly is a disease. Here you have Rosie O'Donnell with her fists up. You know, she's plugged in the sand. You got her little feet sticking out. You've got Keith Olbermann. You know, big talk about the 1%, how, you know, they're not paying their fair share. You've got what's his Al Gore. You know, that's the chubby Al Gore. He kind of goes up and down in his weight.
Yeah,
but he's sitting there, you know, telling us how we have to obey the climate change rules, and you know, he's really kind of set himself apart in that area since he lost the election.
Which, by the way, you can go back and watch his show, An Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah,
and those predictions have not come true because
ridiculous.
We're way past it now, but they still give it credit.
You know, leftist predictions are always wrong. I mean, look at Fauci. See, Fauci would have been in this motley crew had I painted this picture today. You know, just a bunch of ridiculous. Okay, don't want to get canceled with my
experts
program.
Right?
Experts.
Okay,
let's go to the next one. Okay. So you go up, you see Whoopi Goldberg. You see her pointing. I mean, she's a real fun one. Over on the left are a couple of, there's a few actors. See that little group of actors there? You've got George Clooney with his martini, and you've got Matt Damon and Alec Baldwin.
Man,
his hair's got a little more white since I painted this. I mean, talk about I don't know what I want to say about these guys.
I will say this, looking at this painting right now, what's amazing to me is how the quote unquote mighty have fallen, right? I mean, you have Alec Baldwin, who lampooned Trump for years and was such an outspoken critic, and yet, you know, that accident on that set where he is, I mean, they're gonna allegedly responsible for the death of another cast member. I mean, it's incredible. And then you look at CNN and all these other groups that were really anti-Trump, and man, in 1 year, a lot of these people have just collapsed in on themselves.
Yeah, I mean, things change, you know, for everybody, but you know, I just thought it was, in this painting, I wanted to include a lot of the different aspects of liberalism and who's involved. You've got Hollywood, you've got the media, you've got politicians, you've got activists, you know, all of these different people. You know, you see just behind George Clooney, right above the martini here, you've got the rhino butt. You see the wrinkly rhino butt, you know, Republicans in name only. they're a big part of the problem with liberalism.
Oh, so that is standing in for the rhinos.
That's the big fat Easter egg right in your face, right there.
Yeah.
People are like, what's that?
So Mitt Romney, that's Mitt Romney right
That's
there.
Mitt Romney. That's Mitt Romney and all the other crazy rhinos. We could go down the list. And then you've got the caution sign for illegal immigrants crossing. That's just a statement on how, liberalism has made our borders unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And again, rhinos have a big part of that too. It goes both ways, both parties. You've got
Well, I'll say I didn't understand the border issue until I lived in Arizona. And it wasn't just because I lived in Arizona. It was because we worked in the foster care system, and so many people have been affected by the drugs that are coming across the border.
Oh, yeah. It hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It harms so many people, men, women, and children. The drugs, the human trafficking, there's good people south of the border, obviously, that are just trying to have a better life. And I understand that, but you still have to obey the laws, and that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, it's a big topic. I didn't understand it then. I understand it now, and I think a lot of Americans understand it now.
I think we're getting it. Americans want to be safe. They want to be prosperous. They want to. They want everything that will make our future for our children and our grandchildren better. And the politicians, what is it, like 534 people in Washington, D.C. affect the entire country. The elected officials there are the ones that are, if you add up the executive, legislative, and the other branch, the judicial, yeah, it's about 534, I believe they said. It's insanity how so few people, can have such a weight and a power over the entire country.
Well, and that's liberals appear to be very attracted to power, and so they're never going to vote for themselves to not get more power.
That's right.
And that's why, all these people in here, they just want more and more. They're such advocates of all of the things that have been very destructive, because it's power over people.
Exactly. So I don't think I have time to talk about every single person in this painting, but let's go to the next one. So you got Rachel Maddow on the left. She one time made me a whole lot of money. She went on and did a special contest on her website to have people name or give a caption to my painting, The Forgotten Man, or Obama Stepping on the Constitution.
Really?
Yeah. And that, I had a surge on my website. My sales went up, and I'm like, thanks, Rachel. That was nice of you.
So you've learned that it's when the liberals attack you, you actually get stronger.
Well, I've learned that no news is bad news when it comes to marketing, and so having my work circulating among the left actually gets it into the hands of the people on the right, and that's what I want. I don't expect to convert anybody who's a liberal. That disease takes many years to change, sometimes to overcome. I wish there was a vaccine for it, but there isn't. Maybe there is. Maybe I don't know. I guess there are stories of people that have converted.
Inoculating a lot of people.
Andrew Breitbart converted. He used to be a liberal.
That's right.
Yeah. So I guess there's hope. So you look there, you see Jesse Jackson holding up the money, the symbol that represents. You've got Michael Moore with his camera. He's wearing a Go Cuba green hoodie. That picture is a little more of a caricature than anything. You've got Anthony Weiner with his cell phone.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Oh, we don't even want to talk about that.
Speaking of Breitbart moments, when he took the podium and said he was going to release the photos from Anthony Weiner, that was Breitbart.
Oh yeah. Breitbart was right in the middle of it. He was kind of like the James O'Keefe of his day.
Well, and he was his mentor.
Right. That's right.
And Steven Crowder's mentor, and Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro. The difference that one person can make once they see the lie. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
Steve Bannon too.
Yeah.
Steve Bannon. Yeah, that's nuts. Okay, then you've got David Letterman, and we know that David Letterman's a leftist. But when I first came out with this painting, there were people who said, "Oh, David Letterman's a great guy. I like him. He's so funny, you know." And they are funny. They are. But it's liberalism's a disease. It affects everybody. It can affect even somebody as likable as David Letterman, but he hasn't been as likable in recent years, especially when Trump got in. He got downright vicious,
Yeah.
and a lot of these guys did.
Grew out that beard. Looks like an angry Santa Claus.
Yeah.
You got a question from Gaming Chair about McNifty airdrops?
Oh, possibly. Yeah, that has to do with the NFTs. And I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, there'll be some of these people showing up. When it comes to the NFT McNifty world, anything is possible.
Yeah, you're about to see how crazy it gets.
Okay. So you got Chris Matthews. I got another picture of him. I'll show you. He's kind of grabbing his pant leg there. You remember when Obama was running for president? He said that he just was getting a thrill up his leg as he was considering, somebody like Obama becoming president. And we'll never let him live that down. That was the craziest statement.
Yeah, get this thrill up my leg.
What?
I get this thrill up my leg.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You got the spotted owl, all the crazy environmentalism things of liberalism. Jon Stewart, he's doing the thumbs up, but actually he's pointing to the person behind him. Now, people have asked me, who is this guy in the black hood? Kind of looks like, maybe it's Anakin, or Skywalker or something. Actually, no. I figured, okay, this is a painting about liberals. Who is the number one liberal in the universe? Think about that. Satan. That's Satan. Okay, so I put him in the picture. Now, at the time I painted this, Obama, there was this thing that came out that was comparing an actor who was playing the part of Satan and Obama, and they look almost exactly the same. So I almost made that Obama's face under the hood, but I thought, people will think I'm just going off of that other actor, who looked like Satan or whatever. So I thought, no, I'm not going to make it Obama. I'll just make it sort of this, whoever it wants to be. But that's Satan. So pretty outrageous. But, I think that honestly, anything that takes away our freedoms, our ability to choose, the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, or the right to own property, I think that that's satanic personally. Pretty strong position to take, but that's what I think. Now, Al Sharpton is the epitome of a great religious leader, very pious, very lives a clean life, and he's holding his fingers up to make the cross sign to hold off all the evil that exists around him. But that's just sort of the joke and the irony of it all, in my opinion. So I had to put him in there. You see the quarantine tape there. You see the donkey that represents the Democrat Party. You see Sean Penn with his Hugo Chavez shirt just sitting there. That guy just shows up everywhere.
Yeah.
You got Bill Maher. Bill Maher is asked to he's used my paintings before on his show just to make fun of him, like One Nation Under God and so forth. So these guys, this was a lot of fun to paint, but it's just kind of crazy. And sometimes I get a little crazy, but if you're a conservative, you understand my sentiment. And that's what it's all about. This is a slice of history from 10 years ago. If I painted this picture today, it would have a lot of different people in it. Let's see, who would I put in it if I did it?
You already said Fauci.
You'd have Fauci.
And
I have
AOC.
Jen Psaki.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably put, well, Pelosi would still be in it. Let's see, Chuck Schumer. Oh goodness, let's see. There'd be Don Lemon.
Oh yeah. Who's that guy? Brian
Seltzer,
I don't know.
the Humpty
He's
Dumpty guy.
Humpty Dumpty. Yeah.
Brian Seltzer. That's what Sean Hannity calls him.
Yeah.
Rachel would still be in there. I mean, there's just a lot of really interesting people that would probably find their way in the picture. So, anyway, that's that picture. Let's go to what do we got to look at next here?
You've got a sketch that you did.
Oh, here's a sketch I did a few days ago. There he is, Vladimir Putin. I've done beautiful drawings of Jesus and other things. This is not the most attractive and great picture I've done. However, I do believe I captured his likeness. And when I draw pictures of different political figures, and that's what I'm doing here, sometimes I'll do people that aren't as popular. I've done Hillary and Obama, and now I've done Putin. But they're historical, and I'm a political artist, so I've got to touch on these.
And you're capturing the moment.
In the moment, yeah. And now that we're in the news, you're hearing a lot about the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and Putin and Zelensky going back and forth talking about their positions. I thought, well, I'm going to put a quote with this that represents Russia under Putin. Putin's own quote representing his position on why they invaded Ukraine. And it says, what is happening today does not come out of a desire to infringe on the interests of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. It is related to the protection of Russia itself from those who took Ukraine hostage and are trying to use it against our country and its people. And so I've heard, their position is that they feel Ukraine is too friendly with NATO, and that they're a risk to their own national security. You've seen a lot of former Soviet Union states join NATO, and Ukraine is falling right into that, and they weren't going to allow it. And so that doesn't give them the right to invade a sovereign country. It's a complicated situation. I won't go down that rabbit hole. We talked about that in the last YouTube live show that we did. But this particular sketch I did in my sketchbook, I think represents my portrait of Putin, along with what I think is his personal position, at least in his mind, of how they feel about the Ukrainian.
Yeah, well, and I used to live in Russia. I taught English in Russia. I remember I was living with a host family at the time that supposedly he was having an election, and it was he was leaving office in 2009. I want to say that's the year it was, and they were voting for Medvedev. He was the clear-cut winner. And I said that to, you could see the signs everywhere that there was an election coming up in Russia.
Right.
And so I said that to my host family. I was like, hey, is that pretty cool? I mean, Putin's leaving and you're electing Medvedev. And my host dad, he was eating food and he was very quiet. And he looks up at me and he goes, he say he leave. He's probably not leave. So like they knew. And then I asked them what they thought, and you could tell they were guarding their words, and they would say, but they would also say, like he's kept Russia together, and that's the perception. So I don't know, it's complicated for them to speak about what's going on. And so it's hard for me. I have friends over there to get a clear picture of the situation. So yeah, it is a rabbit hole that we could go down, but I'm glad you're at least you're saying, you're capturing an image of history.
Yeah, the thing is, there's good people on both sides of that wall or that fence or that line between countries, both Russians and Ukrainian. Any innocent people that get caught in the politics, in the war, in the violence. And right now, I feel really bad for the Ukrainian people. What they're having to sit through. And we've had a journalist recently get killed over there from Fox News.
Yeah.
So anyway, rabbit hole. We'll save that for another one. Here's okay.
Yeah, we'll
here's
just jump right into it.
NFTs. Let me do some little explaining here. So this new NFT collection, and if you're not familiar with NFTs, it means non-fungible token, and that's just the fancy word for an NFT, meaning that it's a special digital image that cannot be reproduced, and you actually have a way of tracking it so that it's authentic, and that's what gives it value. So somebody could make a digital copy of what you own, but they don't really own it. Okay, it's like owning an original of a piece of art. And I do these collections. This is the second one I've done. I did one of Trump back in January. This new one is going to be a very small, limited collection of less than 2,000 of them, and there's each one of them is completely different, and they're kind of these crazy. The NFT market is a little different than my regular prints. I go even crazier. Kind of outrageous stuff, like you see here. Biden's got tattoos. He's wearing a crown.
What do they say?
He's got tattoos, holding an ice cream cone. He's got Xi Jinping on one side, Vladimir Putin on the other. And, I could tell a story about each one of these, what's going on. Biden always has his ice cream. He's just kind of crazy dude. And so like somebody would get this and this would be the only one like it in existence. And they would own it, and they could either sell it later or hold it. Hopefully they go up in value. So this new Biden collection will be available, I think, starting on the 28th of March. And we're hoping that you can actually purchase these with credit card and not have to deal with the currency like we have in the past. Because typically when you buy NFTs, you have to buy them with cryptocurrency. So if you're not really knowledgeable in that area and you're like, what? Crypto? I got to get what's that stuff called? Ethereum and Bitcoin and all this. No, you don't even have to worry about it. You can just go in with a credit card and you put this. Well,
just tell me though, what is the tattoo
art on the banner there? Yeah. You see, it says go to McNifty.art. They explain everything. Okay, go to those guys. They'll help you.
But what is this tattoo? What does it say on him? The illusion of what?
Something about the illusion of I can't remember what it was. So yeah, so these are what a lot of these are is I paint. Everything is hand painted. Even like you've got him wearing the mask and the if you look on those football shoulder pads, it says Biden on the red part, and if you can get up close, you can't really see it very well in the picture here, but there's like specialized writing, and these are painted. They look very photographic, but they're painted. So everything in the painting has been painted, which is kind of interesting. And so like go to the next one. See how silly these are. He's got the goggles and the facial expressions change. He doesn't have a tattoo in every one of them. They kind of changed the different bodies, but he's got the cigar jacket and he's holding pizza, and the pizza is a reference to something that Biden's always like making reference to the Q people and how they talked about Pizzagate. So I thought, I bet you he likes pizza a lot. So I'll put pizza there. So they're just kind of fun. And these are some of the more docile of the collection. They get pretty wild and crazy. And the people in the background are going to change. There's one where Jill Biden's like holding his arm, like trying to pull him out of the picture. You've got some of the different people that advise him in the picture. So they're just, I mean, I have too much fun sometimes. There's times I do paintings that even though like I'm really frustrated and I feel worried about the situation that Biden has put this country in. It's very serious. But sometimes the best way to handle a serious issue is with humor because it gets the attention of the people that are looking, and then they start to talk about the serious undertones. That's why comedy in America is such an important form of communication, and that's even under attack because of the whole woke culture that people can't even talk about anything that's not approved by the woke police.
Well, and he
The
attacks.
liberalism truly is a disease. So
Well, you had mentioned, about how you were laughing at the segment that Colbert had made of your
right,
painting. It's the weirdest thing, but conservatives, especially now, we're able to laugh at how ridiculous this stuff is. And oftentimes that laughter is what diffuses it all, because if you're laughing and having a good time, you're cheerful and happy, they can't get to you. They
right.
can't get to you.
Well, these are bad signs for the road that our country's taking, where even comedians aren't allowed to, they're being silenced and shut down at universities and places where you're supposed to have a free and open discourse. Those are the first places that get shut down. And they're not allowed. I mean, they're being canceled here and there for talking about things that are on people's minds. I mean, the kind of things you're seeing happen here, is kind of, we're headed towards countries like Russia and Iran and North Korea, even, where you're not allowed to talk about anything. As an artist, I could never even do what I'm doing here if I lived in, like, say, a Middle Eastern country. I mean, they would shut me
Russia,
down.
Russia,
They
you
would
couldn't do
hurt me.
that.
They'd probably kill me or cut my fingers off or do something.
Yeah.
So it hasn't gotten that bad. The worst thing that's happened to me, besides being threatened, is having my Twitter taken down, being censored on, social media. So I haven't felt the full blunt force of censorship as much as an artist would have in another country. But we're going that direction, and that's what worries me.
Well, I think the saving grace of America, this is what makes me a little bit more hopeful, is that everything was designed by the founders to move very slowly, so that it would give you time between something like a mob making decisions for the whole
Right.
country. But they wanted to slow that down so that people's tempers would cool off. That's why the Senate's a cooling agent. It's supposed to cool the tempers of the people. But the whole government is very slow, and so people cool off and they have time to think about things and time to reason through things. And fortunately, all of this stuff that has been really crazy since 2020, 2021, that we've seen, where it's been overreach, it has been countered by other agencies within government, other people, other judges, other representatives. And it's slowly, people have listened to more reasonable arguments. And so I do think there's a lot of red pilling going on, a lot of people who are waking up. That's the only thing that's given me hope, though.
Well, the pendulum usually swings, and so it's very likely, hopefully, cross fingers, knock on wood, that the next election is going to swing far to the right, and we'll be able to take control of the House and hopefully the Senate again. And that'll create a check against the Biden administration. That's what we're hoping. But, it goes back to what we talked about with the swamp, and the fact that there's so many deep state people in the bureaucratic system of Washington that are deeply ingrained there, that even if you get somebody like Trump that's determined to go in and clean house, it's like you're banging your head against the wall and you're attacked from every corner. And so the disease that has infected Washington, D.C. and the government, and it has strangled the Constitution, has put the entire country in a pretty precarious situation, and hopefully we can pull back from it. It certainly gives me as an artist plenty of things to create and to express how I feel about stuff. It's really insane. What else do we got, Seth?
Well, speaking of making America great again, you did a sketch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So I recorded me drawing this sketch for my sketchbook. I do a few of these a week. And usually on one of our shows, I'll show myself drawing these. And so I'm drawing this in real time. This is how fast I draw. And for me, well, for you, it might be like watching grass grow, if you were to sit and watch me work on a painting, you'd be surprised how quickly it comes together. But if you just sat there and watched it, you'd be like, okay, I don't know what's happening. I remember when I used to have my art gallery at the mall, I'd start a painting and somebody would walk in and they go, "Oh, it looks like you're starting a new painting." It's going to be a picture of this and that. And they're like, "Oh, that's cool." Then they'd come back 2 days later and it'd be almost finished. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that?"
Yeah.
For me, to people that don't understand what I do, it seems magical. But really, just like any skill, it's just knowing the tricks. And I've got to the point where I know my technique, so that I focus more, not as much on my technique as I do on trying to create the image that I have in my mind. And I'm trying to put that on the board or the paper, either in pencil or in paint. And, I feel like one of the gifts that I have is that I'm always able to create an image that is exactly what I envision in my mind. So, for example, the painting that I showed you of Liberalism Is A Disease, I had an image in my mind of that picture with all these people, and I started to sketch it out kind of roughly, and I could see it. I knew what I wanted, so that when I painted it, it almost like came out of the fog, just sort of, like a sculptor when they look at the stone and they can see the person in the stone. It's kind of like that for me as an artist. I see what I'm trying to represent, so that I just try to keep whittling at it until I get it exactly the way I want it. And here I'm working on my sketch, and you can see I'm putting in the eyes of Donald Trump, and I wanted this one to have a real kind of a serious, focused on the person, like he's looking right at you, kind of a feel. And the way I do these sketches typically is I'll get several different photographs off the internet of Trump, different expressions or something, and I'll look at it for a while, and then I'll usually create sort of a composite where I pull together what I liked about it to create that image. So none of these sketches are the same. Each one is a little different.
I've seen you do that. You'll have 3 of them up there on the same, and you'll be going back and forth.
I'll be kind of looking at it and sketching, and just, for me, this is relaxing, doing these sketches. For a long time, I didn't always share these. I had a whole file full of little sketches that I'd done of different political people. And
I got one you did of C.S. Lewis.
I barely remember that.
Yeah, it was for Via Dolorosa.
Oh yeah, did I give you that one?
Yeah, you sketched him. We were making these little short videos. We were testing.
Oh yeah, C.S. Lewis. That's right.
Yep.
I vaguely remember that, but most people had never seen those or even cared about them. So I just had them in my file, and I showed them to some people one day, and they're like, "Oh, you should share these." So in the last couple of years, I've started doing them more regularly and sharing them. And I do small limited edition prints of these different pictures. Like the one I'm doing now, I did a limited edition of it and I sold out. they're usually small editions, like 50 or 75, and they usually sell out in the first day or two.
Yeah.
So there's not very many of them. I'll
What's your
probably do another one this week, so keep your eyes open.
what's your um what's your take on Trump? You think he's running?
Oh yeah, I think he'll run unless he has some health problems. I
Yeah.
don't I don't foresee that happening. He seems to have a lot of stamina, and he seems
Yeah.
to be doing pretty good. It's amazing for his age that he's able to keep going the way he does.
Yeah.
But I think he'll run, and I think I like DeSantis. I think that if Trump doesn't run, it should probably be DeSantis, from what I'm seeing. But I don't think that DeSantis would have a prayer to win the primary if Trump gets in the race. And everything is indicating that he is going to run again, which would be crazy simply because I've heard, and we'll see how it plays out, but I've heard that it's likely that Hillary will try to run again. So can you
I see
imagine
that.
seeing
Yeah.
Trump and Hillary again? Oh,
Yeah. Well, and,
I
and
can't
but
imagine though.
yeah.
I mean, who does the Democrat Party even have to run in 2024 that even has a chance?
No one.
I mean, Biden was their best bet, and they
Mhm.
had to, do what they did, the shenanigans they did to get him in there. So um, you have to wonder. And when I talk to a lot of my conservative friends about the 2024 election, a lot of them say, "Do you really think that it'll be an honest election? Do you really think that there's a chance that?" And I sure hope so.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I'm interested in what kind of shenanigans they'll try to pull in the primaries to get him out.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
I've heard a
I
lot of different strategies that they've suggested, to dilute the vote where Democrats register as Republicans in primaries to
yeah, you
vote.
have to wonder about that.
Mhm.
That's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, so I wonder about those kinds of shenanigans. But also in just this year, I've seen a lot of independent people switch back to Trump and be like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like there's no comparison between the Biden administration and how good we had it in 2019. You know,
Mhm.
this is just night and day difference.
Well, a lot of the people that don't like Trump, the ones most of the people that don't like Trump that I've talked to don't like him because they didn't like his mannerisms. They thought he
Yeah,
was brass and you know all the stuff that he's done that didn't seem to fit the presidential mold. By Romney just seemed so much more presidential.
yeah,
The way he talked, the way he looked, he was so polite. And Trump was more of like a pit bull.
yeah,
He wasn't the really calm uh, golden retriever.
yeah,
So anyway. Let's
yeah.
see.
No,
What does that
he is
say?
the
They're already running lies on Trump. Yeah, I know. I know. They're trying to get him in the New York courts, and they're trying to.
Oh,
Uh,
that was dismissed, by the way.
was it really?
Yeah, they had that case against him, and of course, all the same liberal people were typing on Twitter. They were saying, "Oh, the walls are closing in on Trump." They said it
Oh,
was like,
they've been saying that since day one.
yeah, but then they dropped it. I can't remember, but I read it. It was the case was dropped against him.
Wow.
Somebody left it, and they just dropped the whole thing. So
Well, they
you have
keep
to
trying to
wonder.
subpoena people that are close to Trump to find dirt on him from the
Hmm.
January 6th.
Yeah,
They've tried and tried and tried, and it's just it is a witch hunt. It's insanity.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So when was the first time you did an illustration or a sketch of Trump?
Oh, it was probably during the 2016 election, I think. I think I did a bunch of small, pretty simple sketches. And at the time, I didn't know if he was going to win or not. And they were some funny quotes that I would put with them, like, women, or the reason people, uh, what was one of them? It was really funny. Like, something about how the Republican women are much more beautiful, and
Oh, that's
just just silly stuff, about him and Hillary, and I didn't spend as much time on those sketches at the time. They were just little doodles almost. And I made some cards of them. Like I used to sell a pack of cards, like I think about 10 or 12 different Trump quotes and different expressions. And I found out later that a lot of people on Trump's staff during the election had bought those and were giving them away to each other.
really.
Oh, yeah. A lot of stuff's happened behind the scenes with Trump's people with my artwork that I never knew about until later.
Are
I
you able to
met Trump for
share
the
any of that?
first time just like a month ago.
Yeah. What are
You
you
know,
able to share?
like the thing with the cards, and that he was giving out prints of my crossing the swamp to different people on his staff as
Mhm.
Christmas presents. He would sign them.
For
You know,
Christmas.
yeah,
Here you
yeah,
go. Here you go. Merry Christmas. It's gonna be the best
yeah,
Christmas ever.
yeah, and just things like that. And let's see, there was a Republican fundraiser in Arizona, and he signed several of my giclées, for that. And so
Yeah.
he was well aware of the pictures, but I had no idea whether he even. I mean, Sean Hannity told me he liked my work,
Yeah.
so he had shared that with me. But I just didn't really know very much until I met him in person in Texas back in January this year. And the first thing Trump says to me is, as he looked at me, says, "I know you," when I told him my name. And then
Mhm.
we had a nice conversation, and he wanted to buy my original of Crossing the Swamp, and I had to tell him that it already had an owner. I
No, you had to say no.
had to say
That
no.
is the weirdest thing. You'd have to say no to
Oh
him.
man, I mean, I was totally flattered that he wanted to buy one. I think it's the first time I've ever met him.
Man.
And so hopefully he gets back in touch with me. Uh, you know, the thing that I do love about Trump, I don't worship him. However, I do admire him, and I do respect him for what he sacrificed for this country. And the fact that he was willing to fight it out with the deep state, and fight it out for the conservatives that elected him. When he first got elected, I was thinking to myself, okay, this guy has said a lot of things that we wanted to hear, but is he really going to do what he says he's going to do?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a lot of conservatives, they'll say anything to get elected. And they get in there, and it's like, well, when are you going to do it? Well, Trump from day one went after it. And from day one, he was banging his head against the wall, but he still got a lot of good things accomplished. So I was very impressed. And so what started out as a very reserved, kind of skeptical, maybe, and we'll see what happens. After a year or two, I was all on board with Trump. I loved it. And I doesn't mean I agree with every single thing he ever does. I can't. I still have to be careful that way. But I've just been very pleased and excited the fact that we have somebody like this, the right guy for the right at the right time. So hopefully, he'll be able to make a difference going forward in the future.
Who would be your ideal running mate for him?
Well, I okay, DeSantis is a pretty cool dude, but I don't know if he would want to be second place. Maybe he would. I like that guy. He's got the kind of temperament and um,
Wit.
leadership qualities.
Yeah. He's a smart
But
guy.
yeah, it would be really interesting. I don't think this was going to happen, but it would be interesting to see Candace Owens do it,
Yeah.
just because you've got a young black woman who's smart as a whip,
Mhm.
and it would be fun to see somebody like that. She would do a heck of a lot better than Kamala Harris, 100%,
Oh, yeah.
100% better.
Yeah. Somebody had said the other day how neither Joe Biden or Kamala Harris can speak. None of them can speak
No,
clearly.
he
They
can't
all
speak.
stumble over themselves.
I mean, can you imagine having someone like Candace Owens speaking for White House and for the country and for
Yeah.
Black America? I mean, she would convert. She'd be like a Condoleezza Rice times 10, just
Yep.
because of her, who she is. So hopefully the McNifties play a role in 2024 campaign. Hopefully, let's hope, man. I'm sure there'll be some. If Trump runs in 2024, there will be a special campaign NFT from the McNifties. That's the McNaughton NFTs. You count my word on it. That will happen. So yeah, these NFTs, I'll tell you, the McNifty project. What I'm doing with these NFTs. This is a long-term deal. I'm going to be doing these until can't paint anymore, because that's how we're building a community online. It's really the future. It's the pioneering stages of all of this. So once you get me on that NFT bandwagon, here I go.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the sketch. Pence plans to run. He'd never get my vote. I don't think Pence could get half of 1% of a vote.
I don't think so either.
No, there's no chance. That's just ridiculous that he would even consider it.
Yeah, he very much exemplifies, him and Mitt Romney exemplify the establishment Republicans who never did anything for the Republican Party.
They just play the game, wanting to get the acceptance of the Republican Party, and he just played right into to a lot of these establishment people when the country needed Pence the most. And it wasn't about denying the Constitution. All he had to do is fulfill his obligation to the Constitution. We're talking Pence. Fulfill his obligation to the Constitution and send back the votes to those 5 or 6 states that had problems with not fulfilling their obligations with the state legislatures involving the different tabulation of votes in those states. There were some issues. He could have just sent it back.
There's a lot of disputes internally.
That's the word. Yeah. It would have delayed the outcome of the election, but it would have been better for the country, because you wouldn't have all these conservatives, 40% of the country, wondering if it was a fair election. You would have sent it back to the states. They would have gone and kind of dealt with it and brought it back, and then everyone would be like, okay. Pence
at least to have some measure, because all of the cases were dismissed, and so it felt like ignore until he's until the inauguration day. That was the strategy there, and so at least have some sort of legal proceeding where things were heard and spoken.
It could have been handled so much better, but anyway, that's another rabbit hole.
You got another comment here?
Hey, John, your friend Russ in Florida here. Hey, great to see you in here. Russ. Oh, man, I remember you. I went down to Florida for the Republican convention when Romney was running, and Russ and his wife were a host for me down there, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, it's fun. Glad you got on here, Russ. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you, Rye B. I don't know how to say it. Ryan says, yes, sounds awesome, John. Thank you for the signed print, by the way. I hold 34. That's 34 McNifties. Wow. All right. Yeah. We did a special that whoever owns at least 10 of these McNifty NFTs got a special signed limited edition print of the NFT. And there was only 35 of those that were made. And so I sent those out recently. That's kind of special. Yeah, very cool. So I'm you can see I'm getting Trump all filled in here. It's amazing how quickly these come together. And this is kind of the look that Trump had on his face when I walked into the room when I was in Texas. It was Conroe, Texas. And he was in a room with his Secret Service, And I had a special invitation to come in. And, he was standing there and he kind of looked in my direction. And that's the look he had on his face. That's why I drew this. And so it was a little intimidating at first. He was standing there in kind of a bladed stance, one foot in front of the other and leaning forward. And I said, okay, I got to relax. And I walked in, shook his hand, and he was very gracious. And it was a nice meeting. But, I put a quote next to this. I'll be drawing that on there in a second. But the quote was something that he said to the group of people before he left the house. It was a private gathering at a home in Conroe, kind of on the waterfront. And there was only about 100 people there that I remember. And he said something really interesting. And you'll see me draw the quote words on there in just a second. Excuse me. So
have you been in contact with them? You heard from them about anything else going on?
What, the people in Conroe?
No, Trump's people.
Oh, no. I can't get into those details, but I am hoping to hear back from them about a few things, but we'll see. So I just right now my focus is I'm finishing the Biden NFT collection. I'm almost done with that. And then I'm going to be doing some really cool paintings that don't take me quite as long as the last painting. The last one took me almost 2 months, the one called The Emperor Has No Clothes. That picture took almost 2 months. It has something like 13 or 14 people in it. So I'm going to slow down, do 3 or 4 smaller paintings that have some really strong messages that don't take me quite as long. And then I've got some big paintings planned. By the end of 2022, I'll probably have a total of about 10 or 12 original paintings finished, which is a lot for me. I normally don't do more than 6 or 7 originals a year for paintings. And that's a big change for me, because when I first started my art career, I did mostly landscape paintings, and I was doing something like 20 a month. I mean, I was just painting my brains out with these landscapes.
And those weren't selling, right?
Oh, I sold everything.
You did?
I sold everything. Landscapes. I was selling out of Scottsdale. There was a gallery in Scottsdale and a couple other places that were selling my work. So, I mean, my career started out as a landscape painter, and I started an art gallery of my own in Provo in 2001, and had that gallery for about 12 years, and sold all my landscape paintings out of there and other places, just me. And then I started doing some religious paintings in around 2008, and then in 2009 or 2010 is when I first started doing political artwork. So I've just kind of my career has sort of evolved. And the landscapes were just relaxing. But when I was a college student in art school, I was always drawing figures. That I always had that experience, and so it was exciting for me to finally get back in that and to express, both my spiritual faith feelings and thoughts in art, and then my political views. So that's why an artist does what they do, is to express how they feel about the world around them. And I just happen to be a conservative, and I'm very passionate about what I believe in.
Were any of your landscapes as controversial as your political paintings are?
Not even close. Back then people would say, I like the way that landscape makes me feel. Or they'd say, that'll look really good above my couch. Or they would say, well, my decorator likes it, so I like it. You
don't get that same with the trick or treat painting you did. They don't want to put that above their couch.
No, people will say, I agree with what you painted. I have to have that painting. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And they hang them in their offices. They hang them in different places. I've even heard people even hang some of these things above in their living rooms, these really strong political statements. That they can do what they want. All right, so here's the quote: "We will make America great again, again." I'd never heard him say that before. He was kind of talking about how Biden had screwed everything up that they'd worked so hard for, and so they're going to make America great again when he runs in 2024. He didn't say that specifically, the run in 2024, but he's made some statements recently.
Yeah, very clear.
Very
Clear
clear.
hints. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to run, assuming he doesn't have any health problems. So that's the sketch. It was a lot of fun, and it's been fun sitting here chatting all this time. I hope that you'll follow me on Instagram, and I hope that you'll subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. There's some really fun stuff on here. I've been making these videos on YouTube for a few years now. We've got something like 120 videos, so you could pull out the popcorn and have a night of it.
Yeah.
You never get tired of watching some of these things. But anyway, appreciate your time spending with us tonight, and we will see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Good night.